Hello and welcome back to the Reaching Your Full Potential Online Tech Summit, where top experts share their secret tips to stand out from the crowd and to be uber successful using technology. I have today here with me Ashley Baxter, and a little bit bio about her. She is a digital marketing expert and educator who helps small businesses owners build strategic marketing plans for big growth in their bottom line. She is obviously an expert in the digital world, and thank you for joining us today. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, so thank you so much, Yi, for having me. Super happy to be here. So just a little bit about my background. I got my career started in digital in a very traditional sense. So I went to school, got a 4-year degree, graduated with a bachelor's in public relations. And the minute I tried to actually do that as a job, realized that I hated it. So I said, this isn't going to work. Let me figure out how I can pair something that I actually love, which I did have a love for digital, with everything that I learned in school. So I kind of started to spin myself as a digital PR person, which turned into doing more focus on digital marketing, worked for some really large companies and got some great exposure and had some nice opportunities with that. I got to be the first in-house SEO at JCPenney back in the day. So that was a really fun project. We actually redid their entire website. From there, I went to AT&T and helped them launch a new brand that they were launching, and then went and worked on the AT&T side and helped them with some local marketing activities. And then after that, worked in Silicon Beach for about 2 years, almost about a year and a half, and worked with them to help support their client success for some of their enterprise companies like Starbucks and Anytime Fitness. And then I realized that the thing that had always been missing for me was passion and feeling a lot of passion about what I was doing. So I flew the coop and started my own business and sort of entered the world of full-time entrepreneurship at that point.
That's amazing. It's a very pretty good story there. So you just mentioned that how you've been always in digital, and kind of so. You kind of elaborate a little bit how you got there. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about kind of like your some of the struggles that you had going obviously digital, and maybe you can also think about the clients that you help potentially as well, right? And how like their just success that they have and the struggle that you kind of help them with, then take them to the next level. So
Yeah, for
yeah.
sure. For sure. Like when I first got started, so I have been online for a really long time. My mom got me my very first computer in 1992, before I could even connect it to internet access. And so then when AOL came along with the little CDs, if you remember those, they would like send out 1,000 of them. Those little CDs actually got me online for the very first time. And I didn't realize that digital was even something that I could use as a career, right? Like I was just
Right.
a kid who was playing around on the internet, downloading bootleg music from Napster, waiting to get sued. And so I did that for so long, and then realizing that like, oh, this is actually something that businesses can use to connect with consumers, to sell their products, to build better relationship and connection with the audience that they're trying to reach.
Mhm.
So in some of the projects that I've worked on and some of the clients that I've helped, it's mostly been around companies not understanding how to actually connect with their target audience online. Because when you and I go to the internet, right, if we go to Facebook, we have an agenda. Unless we're specifically shopping for something, we're probably looking to have a good conversation or learn something new, or we're bored and we just want to be entertained on Facebook for a short amount of time.
Right.
And so for brands, a lot of times they'll struggle to figure out how can they sort of break through that noise, and actually make a real connection with consumers when they're not looking for it. So that's been sort of the biggest struggle that I've been able to help some companies overcome.
No, that's good. And I think I just want to elaborate, if you can elaborate more on that aspect of how, some brands don't recognize their target, right? And so how does one recognize the target? How do they, like, how would they kind of recognize, like, if I'm going online or somebody does want to go online, how do they recognize the target?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So it honestly is all going to start at the top of the organization. It's interesting because we live in a time where businesses are people,
Mm-hmm.
and they are to a certain extent and they aren't to a certain extent, right? Businesses are run by people, so whatever values that the leadership team of a company holds true and holds near and dear to their heart, whether or not they realize it, they're going to interject those values into everything that takes place in that company. And those values actually really come through and can shine in
Mm-hmm.
your marketing, because you can then take those values and take that message that you have and what you stand for and who you want to help. And that's going to help a general audience say, yeah, that's a brand I like. That's a brand that I connect with, because we
Mm-hmm.
believe in the same thing. We've got the same values. So once you can sort of look at what are the values in your business, it's going to help you start to figure out who's my tribe, who's actually going to relate to this message. And then from there, there are many tools that you can use, and a lot of different options you have with technology to
Right.
dig even deeper into those audiences. A really great tool that a lot of people don't know about is Facebook Audience Insights. I'm
Hmm.
not sure if you've had the opportunity to leverage that or not. Have you?
I haven't really looked into it much in detail, but I've sort of seen it come across. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah, like it's a fantastic tool. It's totally free for anyone to use, but Facebook has so much rich data on their users, right? That's why people love to run
Mhm.
ads there, because you can target pretty much anyone you want to target. But with Audience Insights, you can actually take that audience that you think you want to connect to, enter in the information that you have on them, like age, demographics, location, um, socioeconomic details, specific things they may be interested in. And then Facebook's going to give you even more insight and information on that specific audience and how they behave on Facebook.
Right.
So technology makes it easier to start
That's
finding out
good.
about
Definitely,
your
no,
brand.
that helps a lot. It's a pretty good tip there. Definitely will we'll look at that more in detail. So, obviously, if you kind of look at today's, before we started the interview, we talked about the kind of today's climate where we're in. With it's such a unique time. How do you sort of adapt and innovate, especially in today's climate where things are pretty much online? And what would you tell any business or anybody who wants to kind of take advantage of this time?
Yeah. So right now you have a captive audience. If you're trying to do anything online, you have a really captive audience, because so many of the different experiences or products and services that we're used to getting in person, it's not as easy to do that right now, or at least it's not as safe, right? So the digital space has really expanded even larger than it has before. In adapting, it's really, once again, I think it always comes back to the customer.
Mhm.
So it's going back to that customer and making sure that you're really aligned with what they need, what they want, and the experience that you can provide to them to make their life a lot easier.
Right. No, that's good. Good, definitely good to know for sure. You talked about some of the how you kind of got yourself online. You went, with your AOL discs, the CDs, and those are the. I remember she getting quite a bit of those too. so so yeah, so if you kind of look at that and see where, in looking back, where you are today, and looking back, what are some of the mistakes you wished you could have avoided?
I made so many mistakes, but I would say the biggest mistake that I've made in my career, and just in the digital space in general, is waiting for perfection, waiting for things to be perfect, feeling like what I was creating wasn't good enough to just put it out into the market and
Mhm.
see what happened. It's a running joke with some of my friends that I've probably owned more domains than GoDaddy, because I was the girl for many, many years who would start websites, and I would, build websites, whether it be a blog or like an entertainment website or something, goofy or silly or fun,
Mhm.
just for laughs. I would start all of these websites, and I just wouldn't always finish them. Or if I did finish them, I would start them, finish them, and then I would be too afraid about what other people might think, or like afraid to be judged. And so then I wouldn't actually push them live. So when I look back at things, that's definitely the biggest mistake that I made, is just start now, start early. It doesn't have to be perfect. You're always going to have an opportunity to create multiple iterations and multiple versions of whatever it is you want to accomplish online. So the sooner
Right.
you get started, the better.
That's good. Based on like kind of tying a little bit more on this, some of the mistakes, and obviously with that, going online many times, or any idea that you have, there's always going to be some sort of adversity and doubt. How do you handle that?
Adversity and doubt is a tricky subject for a lot of people.
Mhm.
I think the best thing you can do is find something to have faith in, and that doesn't necessarily have to be religious faith, right? It could be faith in yourself, but having some sort of faith really helps when it comes to adversity, because you realize that you're basically not carrying the load by yourself. The other thing that's been really helpful for me is connecting with other like-minded individuals and having some sort of community, right? That's sort of focused on the same goals. I have a couple of mastermind groups that I'm in.
Okay.
Some of them are super formal and they're like buttoned up, and it's like, okay, we're going to meet, we're talking for
Mhm.
5 minutes, everyone's only going to answer these 3 questions, and it's very strategic. And then there are other groups that I'm in that are a little more relaxed. One group, for example, we have a Google Hangout room that we've created.
Right.
And if anyone wants to not have to work by themselves, if you just want someone to co-work with, you can hop in. There's other people working. And it's basically like this, right? Like what you and I are
Right.
doing, except we're not talking to each other. we're not we're not looking at each other. Like we'll turn off our audio, we'll turn off our video, and we're just sort of present. And every once in a while we'll check in. It's like, hey, did you get anything done in the last 30 minutes? Yeah, I did. I got something done. So yeah, like getting past adversity, if you've got a good community of people that are working towards the same goals, that you feel like you can trust, that you can talk to, that you can share with, that's a really, really, really good way to get past it.
No, that's good. That's good to know for sure. You talk about many times that an idea happens. How do you know when you have the right idea?
Um, you have the right idea, and this might sound like a little woo woo, but you have the right idea when you just like feel it in your
Hmm.
soul and you don't question it. You know that it's the right idea when it actually makes you happy, and it's something that you look forward to doing and
Right.
something you look forward to fulfilling. I'll say when I leapt out of corporate and decided to start my own company, I was like really, I don't know, I was kind of like on the fence for a while, because I started out building websites, right? Because I had a bajillion hours of experience building websites, not actually publishing them. So I said, okay, that's, a good tangible tech skill that I have. And so that's what I'm going to do. So I started building websites, and within at least like maybe 6 months, hated building websites. Like I realized I don't want to build another website for another person. But then I had to come back and say, okay, what is it about the web design experience that I actually am not really feeling right now? And when I took some time to get grounded in that and asked myself that question, I was like, okay, I'm not liking designing websites because when my clients come to me, they don't always have the right information.
Right.
What can I do to make sure that my clients have the right information? And then from that realization, I built the business that I have today, which was the right idea, which is actually helping people get organized. So yeah, you have the right idea when it makes sense, it feels good, and it's something that you're actually excited about doing, because I absolutely love what I do now.
Right, that's amazing. I want to go back to when you first mentioned about SEO when you talked about you did with JC Penney, right?
Yeah.
So obviously SEO. Can you elaborate a little bit more on the, I guess, the importance of, or even if, or should SEO be considered when somebody launches a business, or and how kind of they should approach that? I know it's a long answer that you can probably give, but if you were to condense it into like a, like a small short answer of what would you do with how would you tell somebody who has a website that's they're starting off or they're starting a business, and how would they use SEO for that?
Absolutely. So SEO, and a quick little nugget of bite-sized information. SEO stands for search engine optimization. So a lot of times when people talk about marketing, they'll talk about ads or they'll talk about posting on social media. With SEO, you're actually building your site and creating content and putting that content on your site in a way that's going to bring you free traffic. So when people search on Google for a specific topic or a specific product, they go in, they type, because you have an SEO strategy and you've activated that strategy and your site is optimized, your website then has an opportunity to be one of the first options that shows up on that page. And it shows up for free just because you've done a good job of building out your site and executing your strategy. So if you're just getting started in your business and you've just launched a site, one, you want to make sure that SEO is something you take into consideration when you're actually building your website. That's going to make the process a lot easier. Some people will build a site and then afterwards they'll try to just
Hmm.
throw a bunch of SEO at it, and that's always going to be a much harder path. So if you can keep it in mind as you're building, that's good. Another thing to keep in mind with SEO as you're starting a business: what are the specific terms that could potentially be profitable for your company, right? So what are the things that people are going to look for, go to Google and type, that you want your business to show up for? Those would be your keywords. And so you're going to try to optimize around those keywords. And the last thing that I would share is just that SEO is a long game. It's not always the easiest thing, but it's definitely worth it from a long-term strategy, because it's going to supplement that traffic is going to supplement any traffic you've got coming in from ads, right? So ads, you're paying for those and you're getting traffic.
Right.
You turn off an ad, you don't get traffic anymore. But with SEO, it's always free, so it's worth it in the long run to invest in SEO for your company.
Sounds good. And just to add a little bit more on that, when you talked about Facebook audience, right, inside audience, what would you talk about? How would you say about the importance of social media as well in your business, and to use it or not to use it, or and which platform would one kind of go on as well?
Yeah, definitely. So whether or not you should be on social media is going to be specific for every single company, and no one wants to hear that, because everyone just wants to go crazy on Facebook and or Instagram, and they hope that it's going to be, the silver bullet that takes care of all of the issues they may be facing. But whether or not you should be on social media is going to depend on your customer, because it always comes back to your
Hmm.
customer, right? So is your customer on social media? Does your customer like to get insight and information from social media? What channels is your customer on? That should be the first question that you ask when you think about investing in social. I
Hmm.
do think that social is a good place for most small businesses to be and invest some time, but you have to have a really clear strategy around the messages that you want to share on social media that's actually going to drive that audience you're reaching to take action. You've probably seen social media pages, Facebook pages or profiles where they post content, no one likes it, no one comments. Uh, that's not really doing your business any benefit, right? If you're posting and no one's engaging. So you have to have a genuine strategy for social media to be a worthwhile investment.
Sounds good. That's very good tips for sure. One final question that I have for you, and if there's anything that you would like, if what is one tip actually, if you can share with us, that one if you can implement today to have success?
I think it's going to come back to what I feel like my biggest mistake was, which is to get started today. Like if you're listening to this right now and you have an idea, and you think, oh, I'll do it in 5 years, or I'll do it at some point further down the road. squash that little voice in your mind that's telling you now is not the right time. There's no better time than today to get started in whatever it is that you're doing, especially online, because technology is always going to change. It's always going to improve. It's only going to get better. So if you get started now, you'll be in a much better place a couple of years down the road than if you're just constantly waiting for something else. So do not hesitate, get started as soon as possible.
That's a good tip for sure. Anything you want to add to the interview before we finish?
Yeah, sure. So I have a free gift for everyone who's watching today. So if you are interested in learning a little bit more about digital marketing as a small business owner, if you're curious how you can start to just get a little more organized and get outside of the overwhelm of wondering what you should do and feel some confidence in knowing what you should execute, I have a free checklist and also a free video training for small business owners that you can take. And if you want to access that, you can go to modernmarketingplans.com/tech summit. So it's just for Tech Summit viewers. And I really hope you guys enjoy it and take advantage of that.
Thank you for that offer. We'll put the link there so anybody who didn't catch it, they'll be able to click on that. But thank you again for that offer. Thank you for taking the time today. It was really a pleasure. It is a lot of inside information that I'm sure everybody will benefit from. So thank you again.
Awesome. And thank you so much, Shahid, for having me. And it's been a pleasure.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, thanks.